Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of It's Tuesday, SVT time. What else? This is awesome. Um, we are at episode 42. So man, what can I say? We'll keep on putting these out as long as they don't shut us off at some point. But welcome everyone. I'm Dino Montrose. I'm your host today. My co-host is Dom Liberati as always. And our guest today is Mr. Chuck Wright. Chuck, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Things are wonderful, man.
It's been, I think the last time you and I spoke was in person at the Ultimate Jam Night at the Whiskey.
That is exactly right. It was pre-pandemic and
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, man, it's good to see you. Good to finally talk.
And yeah, it's great to finally be here. You know, I've been an SVT person since, wow, shoot, I got to remember like 78, maybe 77, something like that. Yeah. I remember carrying that thing up the stairs, you know.
Oh. And you're what's that, Tom?
Rite of passage.
Yeah. It's all part of it. And the refrigerator 8x10 going up. I used to have a rehearsal. We had a rehearsal that was up in the stairs back in the day. And I just remember that's you know, nothing sounds like it. There's nothing that's going to be as punchy or as truly rock and roll as an SVT and 8x10.
Right. You know? And I think you still from time to time are carrying an SVT around.
Yeah,
a whiskey gig and whatnot. Which
you know, we put the through you a legendary venue and a legendary company finally got together, and Ampeg is now living at the legendary Whiskey A Go-Go, which if people don't know out there, it was like it's the only venue that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's the Doors were the house band there, for instance.
Right.
To give you some background, and everybody's played there, you know, from Hendrix to Van Halen's first days, on and on and on.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, you know.
In fact, my friend, one of my old buddies from Musicians Institute, drummer Owen Goldman, is, I don't know if it's tonight or in the next couple of nights, he's playing the Whiskey with Robbie.
Robbie already played.
Yeah. Oh, he already played. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So
that was I think last night, actually.
I saw his post and I was like, how cool would that be? Like, you know, just picking Robbie's brain about, you know, like you said, when the Doors were the house band at the Whiskey, what that was like, you know.
I always like to show people, I go, you see this balcony right here?
I remember you telling me this.
Yeah, this is where Jim Morrison urinated on the crowd. Yeah, that happened. This is where Janis Joplin passed out in the back booth.
Oh,
man. It has so much history.
Yeah. So, speaking of history, can we get a little bit of your background, Chuck? So, did you start off as a bass player? Like, what was your musical journey as a kid?
Well, going way back as a kid, I was thinking about this, and my very first experience with music is besides my sister playing records, is my mom bought me one of these little chord organs, and you play the chord with one button with your left hand, you play the melody with your right hand. Yep. And it was like you know, different songs like Born Free and House of the Rising Sun, I guess, is the first rock song I ever like tooled around with. But put that aside, then I took some guitar lessons when I was like 7, and cut to when I was, I don't know, about 13, 14 years old. The neighborhood kids had a band, and they were 17, 18, and I was big for my age, and they knew that I played guitar, so they came up to me and asked me if I'd be interested in being in their band playing bass. And at that point, I just went, what, bass? That's like 4 strings, right? And I said, I think I can handle that. So I went to my mom and asked her if I could get a bass, and she took me to this local area music store, and I actually picked out a P bass. I tried playing it, but it was so big for my hands. So at that point, I really was into Jack Bruce, Cream. I really liked Cream when I was a kid, and so I got a Gibson EB3 bass, and you know, the first song I think I learned was "Sunshine of Your Love," and what's interesting about the Jack Bruce bass and that song is cut 2 years later, I'm on tour with Carmine Appice and Vanilla Fudge, And the opening act's bass player inherited millions of dollars, and he started collecting memorabilia and invited me over to his house. I went to his house after the tour. Sure enough, Jack Bruce's bass that he played, Sunshine of Your Love, is sitting there on the wall. And I go, please let me play that. So it was talk about full circle. I got to play the bass that I actually listened to and learned my first song on bass, which is crazy. You know, he had Jimmy Page's Vox amps, and he had Timmy Bogart's bass, and yeah, just amazing collection of memorabilia and instruments and things.
Wow.
But that's kind of how I got into it. I wasn't even really aware of bass until, I had the opportunity to be in a band, and bass was the open spot. So, and I picked it up like boom. Luckily, I have to say, we were playing like UCLA fraternity parties and things like that. We did a lot of like Hendrix and Cream. So it was a lot of improv going on, which is really great for learning, because you just have to feel the music and learn the music. I never took a lesson in my life. I've just kind of always played from my heart and from what I feel and what I think feels right for the thing, for the song or the piece that's going on or whatever's happening at the time. But another interesting thing about that, at this time in my life, I'd been in military academy for 8 years, and I was all set to go to the school that set you up for the Air Force Academy, because my dream was to fly jets and do that. And then my first gig, like I said, was UCLA fraternity party. I made $75. I drank beer, and the girls thought I was cute. So I told my mom, I go, I think I want to do this, right? I want to do this. And so she goes, are you sure you've invested so much time and obviously her money into me doing that? So, she went along with it. And one of my proudest moments in life was giving her a platinum record.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So years from the mental health record. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it, and I later had a band in the late 70s that was a prog kind of, if you can imagine Genesis, Led Zeppelin, and Queen getting together and putting in a band. Yep. And we were the first band in rock and roll history to have a laser show. We knew a guy up at JPL that developed the technology of using lasers as an art form. And we hooked up with him because we were kind of a sci-fi band. We had 2 stages that looked like flying saucers, costume changes. We handed out a comic book of the lyrics. It was really intense. And we packed it whenever we played. I mean, Van Halen had 30 people. We had the place packed back in those days. Back at the Starwood and the Whiskey. The band was called Satyr.
Okay.
And I actually just found some old video footage that I had transferred to digital. I'm going to be posting that in the near future. But it's because of that band, that guitar player was asked to join Dubrow after Randy Rhoads, because you probably want to know how the Quiet Riot thing came
out. Yeah, absolutely.
When Randy Rhoads left to join Ozzy, my guitar player was asked to play with Kevin Dubrow, which it became Dubrow. The Quiet Riot, that Quiet Riot became the band Dubrow. Okay. And he joined, and then Rudy Sarzo left to join Ozzy Osbourne. And then I was they suggested me. Frankie was resistant because he goes, "Oh, he's a prog guy," And I go, no, I'm into Humble Pie. I'm into all these old school rock and roll bands, that I picked up on from. I used to get Melody Maker when I was a kid, go to the record store, and it had all the English bands. So I was totally into all the old school rock and roll. And so they tried me out, and then I became a member of the band Dubrow, and we did all the the club work, played everywhere. Labels would come out and see us. Finally, it stuck, and at that point, the guitar player had a meltdown, so we had to find a different guy. And I suggested Carlos from the band Snow, and so he joined the band, and we actually went with the producer from the label that wanted to sign the band, but he wanted to see who the new guitar player was, so he came with us, and we picked Carlos Cavazzo to step into the band, and we started doing the demos, which became the Mental Health record.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of that album are just the 24-track demos that we did. And I remember being asleep on the couch in the lobby, and I thought I was done for the day. And they said, "Chuck, time to Bang Your Head." And I go, "Are you kidding me? I just had 3 beers and I'm passed out on the couch." So I said, "Okay." I went in there, strapped on the bass. It was Music Man for that song. And I said, just turn it up really loud, guys. And so I just went for it. I got it in one take, except for the last note, which is one of those, you hit the big chord and then you have to watch the drummer for the ending.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. And that's hey, that song just, the bass, if you listen to that, that track, the bass is mixed really well. It's really loud. And a lot of albums, bass players kind of get lost in because, they want to feature the guitars more or the sing, whatever. That's the song where the bass really stands out. And I'm really proud of that. That's the first thing I ever heard on the radio driving down, the highway. And all of a sudden that song came on and went, oh, unbelievable. Yeah. So
when was that recorded, Chuck?
That was this producer had a studio called Pasha Studios, which was the name of the label.
Okay.
And Dwayne Barron was the engineer on it, who's really brilliant. Gary Moore and a bunch of different huge bands. And they just, there's something about analog recording compared to the way things sound today, working with digital and all that. It's like so much warmer and fatter, and the frequencies are way wider.
Yeah.
Nowadays you spend all this time in the studio and it ends up being like this big, people are listening on the MP3 or whatever. So I miss the analog days, although editing was a pain in the ass.
Right.
Going back and trying to find where what?
There's pros and cons to both sides of the
technology.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you were originally a prog guy before, I should say a prog guy, but obviously your influence with Jack Bruce, but you
I got it.
Before you got into a rock band. You were in a prog group before you got into a rock band. Is what I'm trying to say.
My original playing was doing like cover tunes like Cream, and like I mentioned earlier, what happened was I was 15. My friend was driving my mom's car. We're going down Sunset Boulevard, and I driving by the whiskey, and the marquee says yes, $5. And I said to him, I'll never forget my words to him. I go, I heard that band's supposed to be really good. We should go check it out. And he goes, yeah, let's go check it out. So we went in, and back then they had a separate area for underage where it was like a little grandstand area up in the back. And I remember Chris Squire walking by me, and he had these big fur boots on. I'm going, who's this guy? It looks Sasquatch is walking by, right?
Right.
And I was completely blown away. I had no idea that you could even play music like that intricate with the vocals. And he's just like doing all these amazing bass parts and singing. It totally got me into all of that music. And in fact, when I was in high school, I did my English class report was on 21st Century Schizoid Man by King Crimson. And my teacher was so blown away by the lyrics and the music and everything. She made the class listen to the whole album. I'll never forget that. Yeah. So all those bands, Gentle Giant, I saw, I went to see. I'm very blessed to be where, grew up when I did where I am, because so many great bands have come through, played small venues. I saw Black Sabbath's first performance in LA at the Whiskey, one of the loudest shows I've ever seen. Things like the Queen, they first came to LA. I saw 2 shows back to back same night at Santa Monica Pacific. So that was I always considered seeing these bands my classroom. This is where I learned. I learned watching these guys. And also the production too. I'm way into show production, seeing bands like Genesis and Yes, and the way the whole show and how the lighting is so integral to the actual performance of the music and all of that. Totally into all of that. So that was my classroom where the great bands come into LA.
Wow. Even just in a time where there's actually a music scene somewhere. Like, I feel like it's really hard to find a music scene in a certain city.
Yeah, it's different now, definitely. But all of those, that's when the whole rock and roll thing was happening. It all came through there.
Man, I'm still hung up on the fact that you were able to go see Yes at the Whiskey for $5.
Yeah, but you know what? They just a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, they did that again with John Anderson and Rick Wakeman and Trevor Rabin. That version of Yes. They revisited because it was the anniversary of that show, and they did it again for $5.
Wow, at the Whiskey?
Yeah, and it was incredible.
Oh man,
at the Whiskey, I stood right next to it, like right on the front stage, watching John Anderson give his fan cues to the guy with running the fan. Okay, turn it on. Okay, turn it off. It was great. Yeah, It was really there. That was an amazing show. They're really good. Really, that was really great.
That's so
Really great memories, too. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah,
I mean, the vinyl of Close to the Edge, I wore it out. I had to get another copy. So
sure. Now some of that prog influences kind of filtered over to your solo project as well.
yeah, it wasn't intentional with this solo album. I mean, I'd love to talk about that a little bit. Chuck Wright's Sheltering Sky is
Yep.
the name of the whole thing. I never intended on doing a solo album. It was the pandemic. I'm here stuck here. So I just started recording music that I'd want to hear. No particular direction, no, just all the influence, I guess, throughout my life just were coming out in music. I'm a composer with House of Lords, Riot, different. I'm a songwriter. So it was an opportunity finally to take the time, take a really bad situation and make something good out of it. And I just reached out to different friends of mine and said, "Hey, what do you think of this? Do you want to play on it?" And everybody wanted to play on it. They all there's 41 guests on the album, and all from bands you would know for the most part, and just amazing performances by everybody. And they did it because they really liked the music that I sent to them. So I initially, the very first song I did was called "The Weight of Silence," and it was during the the height of beginning of the pandemic, really kind of like when things were really getting serious. The streets are empty. It's like apocalyptic feeling, like a sci-fi movie or something. And I wrote this piece of music on acoustic guitar, which is what I write most of the music on.
Okay.
I recorded everything myself. I edited together a video because I do a little of that too, with drone footage of all the empty cities, Paris, New York, mixed in with me playing acoustic guitars and my Godin fretless, and I put that out. Troy Lucetta from Tesla calls me up and goes, "Hey, I love that track, man. It would sound so good with drums." I go, "I never thought about that, but yeah, let's do it. You got a studio, go for it." So he sent me drum tracks. Then I have a friend in town named Alan Hines, who's a huge jazz fusion guitarist. Everybody know he sells out whenever he plays the Baked Potato, for instance. But he liked the song too, and he just sent me some solo work, different slide and regular, and I just edited it together and made a melodic piece out of it. Put that together, and then I reached out to Derek Sherinian and a friend of mine named Ben Woods, who's a flamenco guy, which a lot of people probably don't know, but I was in a flamenco band for 2 years too, which I love. So in my guitar playing, there's a little bit of that influence in that song.
Yeah.
So that came out. It ends up winning best instrumental performance and best video, the Rock Music Alliance Awards. I didn't even know I was nominated. Tony Kaye from Yes is the one that handed out the award, and I was up against Satriani and John Five, and I won. Are you kidding me? Kind of big surprise. But that was just the first piece, and it starts the album, the instrumental with Alan Hines, and everybody starts it, and it ends it with just the more stark version. So it's kind of like a bookend. And the album, a lot of people have mentioned that it kind of sounds like a concept record. It goes in and out of different styles, and it's very cinematic.
Yeah.
I co-produced a few of the songs with a friend of mine who's like an award-winning film composer. So there's a lot of depth to it. There are things that we added to add a lot of depth to the record.
Man, and this all started basically because of the pandemic. I mean,
this would never have happened probably. I never would have taken the time to do this kind of thing, and especially a record like this. I mean, I have jazz fusion. I have a couple killer funk tunes on there. I even have a Celtic piece. There's a piece that's kind of like Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, that actually is charting, which it's kind of a country tune, and it's starting to chart on Spiderweb radio. And which I went, really, that's a track. I'm surprised, and I've done a few videos. I started out, like I said, I wasn't planning on doing a solo record. I finished 5 songs, and I did a video for my cover of the Bjork song "Army of Me," and I worked with a 3D animator friend of mine. And at the time, it was right when Ruth Ginsburg passed away, and so I wanted her to be the army. So there's a full army of Ruth Ginsburg's marching on Washington, and it has the "My Body, My Choice" and all that. There's some of those elements in it, And so I had that video, and it came out killer. And I said, I think I have something here. So I took it around and shopped it around, and Brian Pereira over at Cleopatra, signed the record, and I was able to finish it. I had a lot of songs, way deep into a lot of songs that were already, being recorded as I was going, and we put the deal together, and I was able to finish it. It came out about 3 months ago, and I have 4 videos done. And the last one is a song called "Giving Up the Ghost," which features my Godin fretless.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do for bass players, which I know pretty much everybody out here is a bass player. What I wanted to do, when you hear songs, a lot of times you'll be going from the chorus, and then there's a little musical break before the next verse starts, and there's usually a guitar solo in there. Kind of fills up the space. I wanted to do it with bass. So you'll hear some of the songs will have this nice fretless bass going on. There's a couple of songs where I have 3 basses going. I'll have the fretless doing melodic stuff, a regular bass, and then I'll have an 8-string bass holding down like the lower part just for tonality and texture. And then sometimes I'll use an octaver bass carrying like Pino Palladino kind of vibe. I totally love his playing. He's such a melodic player. So a lot of that influence is on there.
Yeah. It's not listening to those tracks. It's not like, for most part, you expect a solo album from a bass player to be like bass solos, and it's totally not that. But
no, it's not.
Your playing is phenomenal, and you do stand out in certain parts where it's like,
but
here's my bass player.
Yeah, it wasn't about me like that. It wasn't like my friend Stu Ham or one of those kind of records. It was about the songs, and I have a lot of different singers on it. I'm a singer myself. I've sung on a lot of the albums I'm on as a background singer, but I didn't want to diminish my own record when I could have somebody like Jeff Scott Soto or Joe Retta. And I wanted a female voice on some of this stuff. I thought that songs like "Giving Up the Ghost" really lend itself to a female voice, like a Sarah McLachlan style. So, through doing Ultimate Jam Night, we have between 50 and had as many as 100 musicians at a show, perform. Right. I've met and made so many great friends, so many talented people in my life because of that. One of the singers is Whitney Ty. And I just immediately thought of her for the song I was working on, and I asked her if she wanted to. Actually, it was a Bjork song. I said, "How do you like Bjork? Would you like?" And she did that, and then we started working together. So she's actually on 3 songs, and she co-wrote "Time Waits for No One" with me, which is one of my favorite songs, especially from a bass standpoint, because it's got that song has a really beautiful fretless bass melody going on over changes while I'm playing lower parts on the other bass.
Yeah,
kind of like Stanley Clark, I guess, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thing. Yeah.
Is that your fretless right there? Can we see it?
That's the Godin in the background right there.
That's my fretless.
Yeah.
This guy, I got this.
I will never forget my first memory of playing one of those in a music store, like right outside Berkeley, and they're just absolutely gorgeous. They sound incredible.
It's like butter. I have an acoustic band, a local band that I've had for 10 years called Acoustic Saints. We have violin, mandolin, little kind of cocktail drum kit, and I play only fretless with it, and we play like 3 sets. It's just love it. We reinterpret classic rock tunes like Zeppelin and Henley and all that, and I love playing my fretless, as you can hear on the album.
Oh yeah. I was
for the heavy rock stuff. The heavy, like on the record, there's some almost industrial. Like Army of Me is kind of an industrial rock track. I use my Spectre and your scrambler, your direct box scrambler to get the edginess out of it. Yeah. That's how I did that. The Spectre's great bass for more modern kind of sounding things, and then my P bass is best for just rock and roll or a little bit smoother kind of sounds. But Spectre, I've probably done 90 albums with that bass, at least.
The Spectre. Now, is that the Spectre that's in the video? Or is that a different?
That's the same bass that I've had since I got it in 1985, and I'll never forget when it showed up in the box. It was in tune. It was shipped from the East Coast. It was in tune. I went, oh my God! You know, you would never. How would you? You know, the G. I remember the G string being slightly out, but I went, oh my God! I go, this thing is solid, right?
Yeah.
And it's a. You don't really need to do much with it in the studio. 2-to-1 compression. I like to do everything flat. You know, and then when you get into the mix, you start dealing more with if you need to, you know, you want to have a nice flat sound, and so that there's a lot to work with in the mix part of the recording process. That's, I think some guys get carried away with over EQ and the sound, so that you can't really fit it into the box it needs to go into to work with the other frequencies once the record's developed. And one of my pet peeves as far as recording goes is I hate having to do bass when I don't have all the information. When I don't have the vocal melody, I don't have the guitar solos, I don't have the keyboard parts. It's like, here's a guitar, here's some drums, do your bass part. You know, and I've had to do that on a lot of records. I go, you're giving me, it's like my hands are tied, right? So like Paul McCartney or Pino Palladino, they do their bass last because they have all that information to build grace notes around the different parts. And I build a lot of my parts over what the vocalist is doing. I want to do something like he'll finish the tagline, and then I'll just do something very subtle, but something that kind of enhances what he just sang. So try to be musical, and you can't be that musical when you only have power chords going on, or on the rock records, you know. I've had to do that quite a bit over the years. I'm just going, oh, come on, guys, give me something, even a scratch vocal.
I was just going to say, that's like, and we've all been in that situation. Like sometimes you don't even get a scratch guitar track. It's just basically a chord progression and a drum track.
Yeah, it's tough, and especially if it's like a program drum and you don't really know what the regular drummer is going to be doing.
Right.
Because again, as a bass player, you really need to play off all the elements. Obviously, it's really important to be locked with the kick and what the drums are doing, but and obviously what the chord changes are. And, you know, like if you're in a minor, whatever the mode is. And you also need to really know what the melodies are so that you don't step on anybody.
Yep.
Because I could be playing a Grace riff and it could be totally crushing what the vocal part is that I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's real important, you know, if you can, guys out there, if you're doing a session, try to get as much of the music as you can to work with.
Yeah, and I usually, you know, it's funny you say that, because I remember that quote from McCartney, you know, in an interview.
Oh, I didn't know.
It was like, I put my bass down last. That way there I have all the information I can build my bass part off of.
Right.
And usually what I've said it to producers here that I've worked with, it's like, the reason for that is so that I can give you the best bass part that I think is going to be appropriate for the song. Like you said, I'm not stepping on people's vocals.
Right,
you know, everything else can kind of be put down as long as I know where the vocals are and some of the harmony that's going on in the track. It just makes for a better performance as a bass player, I think.
Yeah, it does. And you could do, like, which I've done before, it's just a scratch bass part where I'll just kind of stay on the roots just so that they have something. And then once they built their parts, I'll go back in and redo the song.
Yeah.
I just did an album a few weeks back for Frontiers Records. It's basically they're trying to do a House of Lords kind of thing with Ken Mary, who was the drummer in House of Lords when I was in it, and Jimmy Bell, who's the guitar player that's been in the new version of House of Lords. It's called Demons Down, which was a title of the House of Lords record. I go, really, you guys want to do that? But that's what they wanted to do, and that was basically, I had a lot to work with, and it's kind of sounds like a Queensryche House of Lords record, kind of very, you know, aggressive and
sure.
And at first, I kind of passed on it because I didn't really wanted to go, you know, backwards after this solo record is musically. But then I heard some of the tracks. I go, wow, this has actually got some good stuff on it. Great singer, really great playing. There's some songs that, you know, I might not have wanted to be part of, but it's all part of the 11 songs on the album, so I did it. But yeah, and I'm not sure when that's going to be released, but I recorded that just a couple months back. Yeah.
Is it cool? Can we post some of the links to those videos?
Please.
In the comments?
Yeah, you know, for bass players out there, the song Throwing Stones, I do some tapping and sliding, and it's pretty crazy bass part on there, and it's very funky. And that song's actually an anti-war song, and it was written lyrically by Joe Retta, who came up with the vocal melody too for it. I just sent him the music, and it was written before the war in Ukraine, and it's just so timely right now. It's you know, it's basically the concept is as human beings we started, you know, once we figured out like in 2001 to throw stones, we can throw stones at people and to get our way. Now we're launching missiles at people to get our way, right? So basically that's what that song's about. But I think bass players would really dig that, and as far as the fretless stuff, they'd really dig the Giving Up the Ghost tune.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tunes is Giving Up the Ghost.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of music, I think. And like that song has been with me for a long time. As far inside, you know, when you pick up a guitar and you always like fall back into something that you had, and you just never committed it to recording. Well, I finally decided now's the time. I'm going to record this song. And again, there was no agenda as far as, okay, so you've got to write this kind of chord. This has got to be like this. I just wrote whatever I felt. That's why that song has a really kind of interesting proggy kind of bridge in the middle of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty interesting.
I'm putting the links up right now.
With Alan Hines did the solo on that one.
Yep. Yeah, I remember Alan. Alan was a teacher when I was at Musicians Institute. He was a guitar teacher.
He's still like main guy there. He's been there like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So he's an amazing, but you know, the thing that separates him from a lot of the guys is he can shred and all that stuff, but he's like a combination of Jeff Beck, Alan Holsworth, and Dickie Betts.
Yeah.
He's from the South. And so when he plays slide, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed that he, you know, liked my music enough to play on a couple tracks for me.
Sure.
And he has a new album, which I was privy to hear. It's not out yet. That's going to blow your mind. It's so freaking good. You know, I hope he gets the exposure that it deserves.
Very cool. Hey,
Look,
can we talk? Oh, go ahead, Don.
Curious how long it took you from start to finish. Like you said, a little bit post pandemic or like during the pandemic.
Oh man, I don't know. It probably to do the whole thing, writing probably 14 months or more.
Yeah.
Because it was piecemealed. It was kind of piecemealed out, you know. I'd come up, hey, do you want? And then you wait for guys to get it together, and then they finally send you something, and then you build from, you know, and writing the songs. And I actually have more songs than are on that record. That I got to finish. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, I'm done. These are my favorites. And one of the things that is rewarding for me is that every single 100% of every review has been off the charts great.
That's
one
great.
guy said it's his pick for album of the year, and you know, it's just been really rewarding in that regard. Now, it's tough, I got to say, for any new artist. It's really tough to rise above to get people's attention. I mean, there are 60,000 songs released today. Think about that. A day on Spotify. How do you get? I mean, you know, a lot of it's kids with their little machine but anybody can access this and put it up there. You know, so it's tough. I have a record label. They've done great. I got a ton of interviews, but to rise above and to get out there it's not an easy task. No matter how good your music is. It's a different game. I mean, in the 80s, I could tell you exactly what to do if you wanted to have success. When I was in the band Jafria, that was the formula. They knew which radio stations to grease. They knew they greased Billboard. I mean, the management people, they knew where to spend the money. They got us. My first two tours as a musician, how blessed am I? I got to do a sold out tour with Deep Purple and a sold out tour with Foreigner that had I Want to Know What Love Is. So my first tour is playing sold out arenas. I'm just like, oh, this is it, man. You know, it's such a highlight, such a great thing.
Yeah. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? Where you go is up and down because it's been a roller coaster ride ever since, you know. I was very fortunate to play with Alice Cooper, who also headlined arenas and all that. Yeah, and that came about because I was playing with Montrose, Ronnie, who, you know, God bless him, was what a phenomenal guitar player. And I was playing with him for about a year, and Eric Singer came in to play drums, who you know from Kiss.
Yep.
And he was playing with Alice Cooper, and he said, hey, do you want to try out for Alice Cooper? And I said, yeah. But but I had to tell Ronnie, hey, listen, I'm going to do Alice Cooper, but I got this great bass player for you. His name is Ricky Phillips. And because Ricky was my roommate, and I know you guys had him on.
Yep.
And he's been with Styx now, 18 years or something? I don't know, a long time. I remember him listening to Styx and playing along to it in his studio. And I go, what's going on here, man? And then he told me, try out for Styx. And he's perfect for that band. They're like a family, and he's a great guy, great player, great singer, plays guitar well. So it was really awesome that
you'll love this. I don't know if so.
Yeah.
Ricky was just in town last weekend with Styx.
Oh, yeah.
We because of COVID and everything, we were able to go back and say a quick hello, but we couldn't hang out. So we snapped the pic, and
that's good.
So I told him we were going to be doing your interview this week. So he said to say hello. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in touch once in a while, and when he comes into town, I try to see. I think I've seen Styx 12 times already.
Yeah.
What a really great band.
So
Todd Zuckerman. I would love to play with Todd Zuckerman. What a
right? Who wouldn't? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you were in Montrose before Ricky was, and you recommended.
I actually recommended Ricky for the gig,
okay.
And Ricky's from Northern California, like Ronnie, and those guys bonded. I knew they would. I knew he would love Ricky, and it's hard to, when you're playing with somebody as legendary as Ronnie Montrose, go, hey, I got another gig.
Right.
I felt bad, but Ronnie was, we were really only doing like clubs once in a while and not working that much, and this was the Alice Cooper opportunity. We did 75 cities in 17 countries, starting in Moscow, and we ended in Lisbon, and we did some states in Canada, but a lot of European cities, which I love Europe. I was just there all summer pretty much, I love being there.
Wow. Now I'm just trying to put the timeline together. So this was okay. All right.
2001 was basically when I was with Ronnie, 2000, 2001, and then 2002, 2003, I was playing with Alice. And then I rehooked up with Quiet Riot again.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of trying to was Jafria kind of your first big, like, touring band? That was your...
Yeah, that was the first time I ever toured.
Okay.
Yeah, up till then, I was playing locally here, and
yeah.
I actually had a band called Exposure at that time with Pat Torpy, who's one of my best friends from Mr. Big. He's also on 3 tracks, which I should give you some background on that, but he's on 3 tracks on the album, though he passed away a few years ago.
Right.
But I had a band with him and guitar player that I ended up playing with Joe Cocker for years, named Gene Black. And the keyboard player was a singer, was a producer, engineer who did Ozzy. When you hear Girls, 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 that's his voice. His name is John Purdell. He passed away quite a while ago, right before his 45th birthday. And Pat Regan, who produced Deep Purple, Kiss, and was in my prog band back in the late 70s and early 80s. He was in the band too. And that's what I was doing. And then I was asked to go in and redo all the bass parts in the Free album.
Okay.
And then they said, hey, we got this tour. Do you want to do that? And at that time, Gene, the guitar player, had something going, and then Pat was getting together with Mr. Big Guy. So kind of all that band. It was a great band. It was kind of like Saga or something. Ultra Rock Saga. 1983, early 84 era.
Okay. Yeah. You had mentioned something too, and this is it. I remembered you did this gig, but I kind of forgot about it for a while. But you played with Vanilla Fudge for a long time, or for not a long time, but you played with Vanilla Fudge.
It was brief, but I played with Carmine and Pat Travers.
Okay, all right. But I was going to say Timmy Bogart was a longtime friend of yours, as was mine too.
Yeah, great guy. So another loss.
Yeah,
it was such a great guy. You were going to ask about Carmine, and back to Jack Bruce.
Yeah.
I always wanted to record a Cream song, and Carmine and Pat were doing this album, and Carmine said, "Hey, Tony Franklin's on a bunch of tracks. Do you want to do the other?" So Tony's on half, and I'm on the other half. And luckily for me, one of the songs we did was a song called "Politician" by Cream. and it's one of my favorite tracks. I mean, the bass is in your face, just crunchy. It's great tone. And Pat, playing with Pat and Carmine in rehearsals, it was like I was in Cream, the way that they jammed. And whenever
Sure.
Pat would take a solo, it was like, this is the last solo of the rest of my life. I mean, he has such intention with what he does. And Carmine, as you know, is crazy and fun to play along with. And he's great. So I'm really proud of that album. It's called Bazooka.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also on a Cleopatra. It's called Bazooka. The song Politician. You bass players, check that out. Let me know what you think, because I'm pretty proud of that one.
Nice.
It's kind of jammy, but aggressive. Great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm writing
But
it
yeah,
down.
so that was, and then Carmine had this Vanilla Fudge tour in Europe, and he asked me if I'd be into doing that, and I said, yeah, that's, you know, Timmy's bass parts. That's a lot to chew, you know, to
Yeah.
chew on.
Oh yeah.
So, but unfortunately, I got out there and we did a few shows, and the promoters were not happy that it was just Carmine. So yeah, no, they weren't happy at all. So Timmy ended up coming
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
and I said, hey, can I stay on and be the LD? Because I wanted to, you know, they were cool. I wanted to see the rest of Europe and stay with the band and hang out
Sure.
and kind of help out with the tour. And so I ended up doing that for the remainder of the shows that were left. It wasn't a very long tour.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
went to Athens and a lot of places in Germany and that. So it was kind of cool. They kept me on.
Was Paul Hansen playing guitar at that time? By any chance?
I
With
don't
the
think so. No.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but I just, and I remember having conversations with Timmy about different iterations of the Fudge.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it was Timmy and Carmine or Carmine and Mark Stein.
Mark Stein.
And you know, and it was like, but he always came back. He was like, when it's the original four members, when it's Timmy, Carmine, Mark Stein, and Vinny,
yeah.
that's
You know what, that's like a lot of bands. That's where the real magic is. That's chemistry of people.
Yeah.
You can change a guy here, change a guy there, but it just doesn't have that same magic.
Yeah.
You know, it's missing that chemistry. Yeah, and I guess they're out now touring right now. Carmine.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, God bless him, man. He is a working machine. Like he's always doing so many different things.
He's always a busy guy and always looking for the next thing to do and how.
Yeah, right.
He actually contacted me recently about because I had the record. He goes, "How are you getting so much this, and how are you getting that happening and that?" Because he just did this record and nothing was really going on with it. And I just tried to tell him, well, this is what you do, you know.
Yeah.
If you reach out and get things going.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Did you mix your last record?
Yeah, I was involved. Well, you know what? There's different engineers. Obviously, the whole record has different people recording. Because I oversaw it. I would edit here, and then I would send it to different guys to mix. My friend, the film composer friend of mine, is a great mixer, and he's also, if you watch, you know, I won't say his name because he doesn't want people to know. He's also the cinematographer and editor on the videos. He is a freaking genius, and I'm blessed I know him. He's great, and we're really close friends now. And yeah, he's a very special guy. So he mixed and co-produced I think 3 or 4 songs with me, and Ken Mary, the drummer from who I mentioned earlier from House of Lords, he has an SSL room in Phoenix, and he mixed the track he played drums on.
Okay.
I'll See You on the Other Side, which actually that song was written all at one time. I got the phone call that Frankie Benelli had passed, and I sat down. The 12 string guitar was right here, and I just wrote the song top to bottom. I had the chorus; it just came out, you know. Yeah. And that, you know, I was thinking about other, you know, a lot of my best friends that I'd lost over the years, and my mom, and all that. So that's all in that song.
Sure. Yeah.
So that.
It's when emotions start flowing, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, a lot of people will write songs based on like a breakup, you know, or whatever. So that's where that comes from. That's where you write a song. There's an emotional thing, and that song just came from after that call. It just was and it all happened. It all came out, and I finished the verses with a singer named August Young, who was working with Frankie in a Zepp band
Okay.
at the time. And I got everybody that was in that band involved in that song because of that. And there's a lot of people. Jude Gold did the solo on that song. You might know him from Jefferson's Starship or the Starship. Anyway, he's just Jefferson Starship. That solo is amazing. I said, hey, do something a little bit like Jeff Beck, and just a beautiful, beautiful work. Just incredible.
Man, you also do you do a fair amount of film scoring as well.
Well, in the 90s, I don't anymore. In the 90s, I was working with Matt Sorum, who you know from Guns N' Roses and the Cult and all that, and Lanny Cordola, who was in Jafria and House of Lords. And during the 90s, we did so many projects together. I mean, we produced 2 reggae records together, an ambient trance record. We had one of my favorite records I've done is called Chaos is the Poetry. It's really eclectic, very cool record. Greg Bissonette's the drummer on it, who's an amazing drummer to work with. And a thing called Magdalene we did, and Ken Mary's the drummer on that one. Very eclectic music. And so Lanny and I have been like best friends and collaborating forever, but he got into film scoring with Matt and they brought me in. So, you know, I think we did like 7.
Okay.
And Matt and I did a big movie for Universal called The Conqueror, but I wasn't the film score. I just played bass, and they wanted to, Goldsmith, who was doing it, wanted to do something like the Metallica record where, you know, when they had that orchestra, I forgot the name of the album, but it was an orchestra with them for the music. So we were playing with the London Philharmonic on that particular album. Yeah, it's very, very fun experience.
Very cool. Yeah.
But it's doing film scoring is really a challenge. You have to deal with a lot of personalities, and I really admire anybody that does that work.
Yeah, it's, you know, I remember watching wasn't a documentary, but another bass player that got into film scoring, Stanley Clark.
Yeah. I didn't know that. That's great.
And the work and the involvement that is not just in actual coming up with the creativity and writing the music, but consulting with the producers, the directors.
Yeah.
It's like there's so much behind the scenes that goes on outside of just writing music.
That's one of the big challenges. Is I remember we were doing one movie and there was, I think, 3 or 4 producers, and they all wanted something different. Like, no, this should be like a merengue kind of piece. No, man, this should be like a bluesy jazz fusion thing. And this guy, no, I think, you know, it's like, oh my God, you know. So it's yeah. Hopefully you can just do your thing, and you have to work with the scenes after they're cut. And,
right,
you know,
right.
Hit the beats.
So I gotta ask you. So, Ultimate Jam Night is still happening, correct?
Well, we're on hiatus right now, and reason for that is, you know, I started in 2015. It was every week. We started at one venue, and then they decided to take it from us because it was doing so well. I mean, when I first started there, they had like 20 people at that venue, and I go, this place would be great. Went there. And then a year later, they go, we're going to, you know, they kicked us to the curb. And I went to Mikey over at the Whiskey, and he took us on. He goes, well, you know, residencies don't really work at the Whiskey at Go-Go, but I'll give you a couple weeks. So, you know, when we've been there since 2016, the pandemic hit, obviously, we went away. And then I started it back this year. And then I started getting really busy out of the country, doing, you know, playing out of the country with my new thing I'm doing. And I just didn't have the time to organize it. Which it's really try to, you know, you guys have, most everybody out there, you've tried to help out organizing a band rehearsal.
Oh, sure.
Just getting 3 or 4 guys, 5 guys together. Try getting 50. Try getting everybody to agree. Okay, here's the song, here's the key, here's the ending. Everybody knows what they're going to do, when they're going to play, and all of that. I mean, it's like a machine during the show, but getting it to the show is a challenge. And you guys have guys once in a while that'll bail the day of the show. And it's a pretty stressful endeavor, but it's really helped the music community, and it's helped other things. I mean, we did not that long ago, we did a charity event for the World Central Kitchen for Ukraine. and we raised thousands of dollars, and we actually had a family that had just relocated here from Bucha, which is, most people know, Bucha was a terrible scene there, and we put them on stage, and the father talked, and their little 7-year-old daughter sang "We Are the World." So it was pretty. We try to do things for the community. We, for the homeless here. Once in a while, we'll do charity events, but it's and each night is a theme. We'll do Queen, or we'll do a mustache night. So it's all the bands from the 70s with the big mustaches, hand out mustaches. We actually did Rocky Horror Picture Show, top to bottom, full costume. Pauly Z, who you might know from Sweet and different things. Is the MC, and he was an amazing Frankenfurter. He owned that role, and, so we do a lot of fun things, and it's been very popular, and it helped kind of bring back. DJs were taking over, and we had a little jam going at a little club here that closed, and people kept asking me, "Hey, when are you going to do that again? When are you going to do that?" Again? And it helped revitalize the music scene here, and different jams started sprouting up. The formula works, and the difference between Ultimate Jam Night and the other ones is the level of player. I mean, is really, really high. I mean, most of the people that step onto the Ultimate Jam Night stage have records out or toured or from major bands, or if they're a newer talent, I vet everybody really well. I watch, people go, "Hey, I got a video," and it's a MTV type video. I go, no, I have to have something live. Yeah, so I can really see what you're about. Yeah. Also, not only talent level, but to make sure that their style is going to be right for the song that I'm going to throw them into. That's important. You don't want some like 7-string metal guy playing a Prince tune, really. Why not? Why not? Yeah, it's a different take. It actually is. It has happened, and trust me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I believe you on that.
Certain guys should not be playing certain kinds of music,
And this is the other thing too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no cover charge.
No, I wanted to keep it free. I mean, and it's really popular. I mean, it packs out whenever we do the show. Yeah, I wanted to keep it free because, well, it's for the community. But I can't ask guys, hey, you come down, do a few songs, and be charging money and making a bunch of money off of their performances. It's more about the community. I love putting people together that want to play with somebody. Hey, I'd love to play with this guy, or get here's a good example. Sugarfoot Moffett and Greg Wright both played on the Michael Jackson Thriller tour, right? They haven't played together since. I reached out to both of them and go, "Hey, do you guys want to play?" So I got them to come down and play together again. Things like that. It's great. Had the guys at Motorhead. I mean, the list goes on. We've had, almost 3,000, I guess, something players, and from mostly major bands. And you can check out about the event. It's ultimatejamnight.com. It has a lot of pictures and things about what we've been doing over the years. Like I said, I think we were into show 250 something at this point.
Yeah, I'd come down, like I said, I think that was the last time you and I actually met in person was at Ultimate Jam Night. And it was, man, and this all started just to put together a jam night for musicians. It was basically that. But I wanted, when I started it, I wanted it to be bigger than that. I mean, in the very beginning, I had a little bit more budget to work with because we're with our sponsorship and the venue. And I wanted it to be like a real rock and roll circus. I mean, I had bizarre burlesque going on. I had, like a girl on stilts walking around. We had a clown puppet guy that was part of the show and walking around. I really wanted it to just be this crazy fun, and the music going on, just a social gathering. And one of the things that I'm really proud of and happy about is that through Ultimate Jam Night, so many people have connected. Bands have been formed. People have been seen. There's one singer that was able to his name is Alonzo, and the Prince family saw him perform at Ultimate Jam Night, and then they put him on the road with doing a Prince show, with their backing behind him. Things like that. If just guys have gotten tours, I try to tell guys, you're not going to get a gig sitting on the couch waiting for your phone to ring. Get out there, let people know what you can do.
you know. And I really try hard to put guys in songs that they're going to shine. Like, this would be perfect for this guy, you know. Let's get him; he's going to shine, and then they meet people, and all of a sudden they have a relationship, and then they get the gig. You know, so it's been very good for the community, and I hope to be back in the near future. You know, it just depends a little bit on my schedule, because I've taken back the duties of organizing everything. Paulie Z, I handed him the ball. I oversaw it, and he was doing it, but he's just gotten too much going on now too. It's really it takes a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
There's 22 songs, and there's usually no less than 45 musicians.
Yeah, and that's every week.
Wow. Well, it was every week.
That was every week.
When we started back after the pandemic, I said, if I'm going to take it on, I can't do every week again. I mean, I got a nervous, honestly, guys, I got a nervous disorder from doing it. But so it was now every other week.
Okay.
And now, because I'm not even around, I'm leaving again this weekend. We're on hiatus until probably until the end of the year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, next time I'm in town, I'll grab Dom and we'll come down and either play.
Oh, you guys got to play.
I'd love to play.
Yeah, I'd love to have you guys play, man. Yeah.
You and I are going to play Big Bottom together.
Say that?
We're going to play Big Bottom.
You know what? We did Big Bottom. We had 27. We had 27 bass players. We had little amps all over the club. We had two stand-up bass.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we had two risers on each side of the stage with stand-up bass players. We had them everywhere. Everybody, it was.
Oh, that is too funny.
Actually, we've done Big Bottom twice.
That
over
is
the
too
years.
funny.
Yeah, we did a whole Spinal Tap night. You know, where Paul got dressed up like the guys. And we actually did. We actually got a model, you know, it in a little fairy person running around, and we did the Stonehenge thing. It came down from the ceiling.
Yeah,
we did that.
Man.
Oh yeah, we go a lot when we're going to do a concept show like that. We plan ahead, but we try to do it, you know, and make it fun, and you know.
Yeah.
So,
hey, speaking, because I know we're running out of time here, but speaking of Spinal Tap. Through everything, through your entire career, give us a Spinal Tap moment.
Well, I love that question. You know what? Not directly with me. I mean, I fall off the stage once, and I've fallen on the stage. That's not really a Spinal Tap as when I was with Alice Cooper. And there's two Spinal Tap Alice Cooper stories from the tour I did. One is there's this whole bit where he's in the straitjacket, and then they grab him and they take him over to the guillotine, and there's the executioner comes out. Eric Singer's doing the big the guy's holding the rope. It's about time for Alice's head to get cut off. He lets go of the rope. The guillotine comes down, stops halfway. The head still falls off. Yes. Totally great. And a direct one with the movie Spinal Tap. There's a part in the show where Alice is he's taking body parts that are all over the stage and building a Frankenstein monster with his head that was cut off earlier is now placed on top of that, and it's put into this tube. There's the drum solo. He changes into the white suit for No More Mr. Nice Guy, right?
Yeah.
He gets, the thing turns around, he gets in it. So that the gag is it fills up with smoke. It opens up and he comes out. He got stuck in there. He couldn't get out.
Like the pod.
Yeah,
like Eric in the
basement. He's going, and he went out the back and came around the side of the stage to come out. So that guy totally got killed. And we had a tour bus that had those the doors that just open automatically. You put your hand and it opens up. He would always get stuck on the tour bus too. It was so freaking hilarious. Yeah. But you can't get more direct than the thing filling up with smoke and not being able to get out, just like
right.
Oh my God.
That is too funny. That is too funny, man. Yeah, those would definitely, especially like you said, the guillotine coming down halfway.
Head falls off. And then they rush him off. Everybody goes, ah!
That is too crazy.
I should have put that in the show. It's freaking funny.
Yeah, right. It scared him so much his head just fell off anyways.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Chuck, I mean, I gotta say, you know, through all the years that I've known you, my friend, it's and this is advice for anybody that's watching this, and I'll ask for your advice too, or you can comment on this, but like you said earlier, as a bass player, we kind of tend to fall into this thing of sitting around waiting for the phone to ring for a gig for us. But you, and I followed your career, you are always, whether you're doing your own thing or you're working with someone else, you're always pursuing something. You know what I mean? You're making things happen. You're not just waiting for the phone to ring. And
you have to take the initiative and get out there and let people know you're around or available, or whatever. So it's important, and go to gigs and go see other people play and run into other people and say, hey, what are you doing? And let them know you're available, or what you're into. And,
Yeah.
That's, being here in LA, it's a total social networking situation. Obviously there's probably more musicians here than anywhere else I can think of. So, growing up here, again, like I said earlier, for this to be my career, it was the best place for me to be.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You got to do the hang. I remember that was the big saying in LA. It was like, people know you can play. You just got to do the hang. You got to hang out.
Well, a lot of times you'll get hired because you're a good hang. They'll go, oh yeah, that guy can play great, but he's a good hang. That guy plays great, but what a dick. So you're not going to get the gig, right?
Right.
So it's important just to it's about the hang.
Yeah, it's about the hang. It definitely is, man.
Right on.
Well, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. This is finally, like I say, this is the conversation we always want to have at a NAMM show, but we can't talk about because we're always getting pulled in a million.
As soon as you start talking with somebody else comes in and wants your attention, and they're standing there just staring at you going, it's my turn.
you feel the eyeballs just burning in the back of your head.
Just burning in the back of your head. You go, I know somebody's looking at me right now. But yeah, well, I guess NAMM's in April this year again, right?
That's the plan. It'll be in Anaheim. They're looking at April this year, and then 2024 supposedly it'll go back to January.
Okay.
So this year was in June, I think it was June or July.
Yeah.
And then next year it'll be in April, and then hopefully by 2024 they'll be back to normal.
Are you going to have a bigger presence, or is it going to be this?
Yeah. So this year, what they did this year was Yamaha basically had their room or their booth.
Right. Sure. I remember.
And we had Ampeg amps on display.
Right.
But we weren't there in terms of, like, me and Dom weren't there. It was pretty much just Yamaha was displaying Ampeg amps for us.
Right.
So hopefully next year, 2023, I honestly don't know how it's going to play out, but I'm always pushing for, like, Ampeg, even if it's a 10 by 10 spot down on the main floor.
Yeah, it needs to be visible. Yeah. I mean, they're really, especially for rock and roll. Yeah. There's nothing like an Ampeg. I mean, come on. Yes. Everybody tries to improve. You can't improve on the best. I'm sorry.
That's
they try it.
Like I said, there's a few things that our forefathers got right. Leo got the Fender P bass right.
That's right.
and Roger Cox and Bill Hughes got the SVT right, as did Jess with the B15. Just leave it. So
if it's not broken, don't fix it. It's what I always say.
Exactly.
All right.
So hopefully next spring we'll be there in some form of capacity. So,
cool.
All right. Awesome. Well, Chuck, thank you so much again for joining us. We're going to have you back on at some point.
Everybody, check it out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Have a listen. You can. It's on YouTube. You can hear the track separately. There's videos. It's on Spotify. If you want hard product, you can get that. Amazon's carrying it.
Cool.
But, it's really diverse, guys. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's really musical, and the bass is featured.
And you bring up a good point. Don't just go to YouTube and watch it. Buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be great. For me, I swear, I just want people to hear it.
Of course.
It's mainly like, check this out. This is, for me, this is my legacy, not a track I did in 1983, right. Which is a huge thing, but this is what I'm about as a musician and as a player. or so. So yeah, right on.
Yep. Awesome, man. Thank you again. Oh, I'm gonna post before we go. I'm just gonna post this real quick because Haji just posted the link. It's a big long link on Amazon, but we'll leave this up.
Hey, it's like $13. What do you know? Come on. That's 2 cups of coffee at Starbucks.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to say a quick thank you to Aaron for always putting these together for us and organizing.
Yes, thank you very much.
And of course, Haji in the background that's always posting links and answering people's questions. And it's not just our pretty faces that make this happen every week. So, or at least Tom's pretty face. I can't. Anyway. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, great seeing you. Cheers.
Thank you.